Stefan T, thank you for 5 RSD. Uh-oh, here's one I don't recognize. What's RSD? Serbian dinar. That's a new one for me. Thank you for 500 Serbian dinar. Back to FPV after 2 years. I flew analog. Now I want to move to HD. From what I see, both the V2 and the Vista and the HDZero and RunCam 90 are similarly priced. O3 is over my budget. What should I go with? Mainly freestyle. Don't put me in an awkward position there, Stefan. The advantage of the HDZero and the RunCam 90 is the extremely low latency and smooth video. This provides a connected feel and a sense of confidence that I have not felt with anything else except analog. With HDZero and the 90 FPS camera, when you dive into a tight area, you just I feel really confident that I could just zip around and make last minute corrections. When I go from flying the 90 FPS HDZero camera to something like DJI, which has higher latency, I notice that I'm kind of holding back a little bit. I'm being just a little conservative, and I don't like dive in at speed. I'll plan my moves a little bit more, or I'll give myself a little bit more breathing room around a gap or around an obstacle. And I don't notice this unless I fly them back to back, because it just becomes second nature. It's like that, you know, you got a injury to your knee or your ankle, and you kind of limp on it a little bit, or you favor it when you get out of bed in the morning, and you've been doing it so long you don't even notice that you're doing it. Right? But the flip side of that is that the range and penetration of the HDZero system are significantly less than the DJI system, the V2, than the Vista. And on top of that, the image quality is the resolution and quality of the image, the amount of detail that you can actually see under many conditions is less. When there's fast movement on screen, the DJI compression algorithm, it just turns the movement into big blocks, a little bit of a kind of a blur. Whereas HDZero will always deliver the same image quality no matter what. It doesn't do that kind of compression. So there are some areas you can cherry pick where HDZero would have better image detail than DJI, but in general, DJI is going to have way better range, penetration, and image detail. And as a result, most freestyle pilots choose DJI. And I'm wording that very carefully because, like, I know that there are people out there who are absolutely happy with HDZero. They love it, and they consider it to be, you know, the only thing they want to fly. They say, oh, when I fly DJI, the latency is so terrible. I hate it. I can't fly like that. But statistically, a lot of people prefer DJI with its better range penetration and image detail over HDZero with its better latency and smoothness. So if I had to make a recommendation to you, I would say, you know, like if you asked me to recommend a pickup truck to you, I'd be like, well, I feel pretty safe recommending the Ford F-150. It's the most popular vehicle in America right now. A lot of people like the F-150. You're probably going to like it too. And obviously, you should do your own research. But if you're asking me for a video system for freestyle between HDZero and the DJI, I think the DJI is the one that is most likely for you to be happy with, unless you know for a fact that you really care about that latency. Yeah. How'd I do? Did I fairly represent both systems? What's
so
up,
the
Lindsay?
only thing is, I think he maybe only mentioned that people in chat seem to suggest a lot of Walksnail action. He's new to FPV after 2 years, so maybe he isn't aware where Walksnail is in the market.
Well, Walksnail is interesting and certainly deserves consideration. Walksnail has similar image quality, range, and penetration. Similar, I think it's not quite as good, but similar image quality, range, and penetration to the V2. with the Vista. Walksnail has a lot more versatility. Like there's a 1S Walksnail video transmitter for microquads. DJI doesn't have that. There's a standalone video receiver that you can use with any system that has an HDMI input. DJI doesn't have that. Walksnail has a lower latency racing mode, which has absolutely sort of garbage image quality. It's 540p, but has much, much more stable and low latency compared to DJI. And it gets close to the HDZero system, not in terms of absolute latency, but in terms of consistency. The Walksnail racing mode is around 19 milliseconds, whereas the HDZero 90 FPS is something like 4 milliseconds. But it's much more consistent and a lot closer because the latency is not changing. So Walksnail certainly deserves consideration. If you had already written it off, then fine. But if you were, the thing is that the V2 goggle and the Vista are getting harder and harder to buy. They're still out there, but they're definitely on the way out. And some would question whether you should be committing to those systems in this day and age. Thank you, Plenty, and thanks to the chat for pointing that out. Natural Herb asks, I must upgrade my DJI V2 goggles to be able to connect to the new O3 system. Will I still be able to have the goggles and the DJI FPV drone unlocked after I make the newest upgrade? Yes. Yes, I am not aware of that and that changing the unlock behavior. As far as I know, it doesn't change that. HDZero Freestyle V1 VTX has noise when I give throttle, even though I have a cap. Is that normal? It's normal that sometimes a video transmitter will get noise even when you have a cap. There are other factors like the quality of the voltage regulator, the filtering on the flight controller and the ESC, and so forth. I don't think that it's the HDZero Freestyle's fault. I think that more likely there's something about your build that's causing the noise. If you are powering the video transmitter from VBAT, then move it to a regulator, and that may clean the noise up. There may be, like, if you've got, I mean, I'd have to see the noise to be a little more sure of what's causing it, but it could be if you've got a motor screw touching a winding or a motor wire, that can absolutely cause this problem. Grounding, if you isolate the video transmitter from the frame, including if you've got an SMA extension, so you'd want to use a 3D printed mount for the antenna, and you'd want to like use tape or something to isolate the video transmitter from the frame. Sometimes that cleans up the noise. Those are some of the things that you could think about.